Hi there, a very good evening. You are with the live dugout on sports today. In my company today are two very fine gentlemen in Sashwat Bhalla and Siddharth Gulati. It's also the weekend coming to an end now. However, it's if you just look back at how this weekend started, well, it started with a lot of news. Things peaked yesterday night, and as we approached the close of the weekend, the end of the weekend, we thought we'll dwell on what exactly happened yesterday. But before that, not only did the big team news come in yesterday, there is a lot of talk about the bigger team news, and that's the Champions Trophy team news, which, as was expected to come latest by today. This was the deadline, I suppose. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah, it
Today
is.
was supposed to be the deadline day, but as reports have suggested, and we've reported that here on Sports Today as well, the BCCI has sought an extension. We still don't have any clarity. Maybe it's about a week long time that BCCI could still take to come up with the Champions Trophy schedule. And in that, what we will be entertained with till that time, this whole week, will be the Vijay Hazare, which has now headed into the business end. I think
Correct.
Shashwat's
Quarterfinals. Now we'll have the semifinals Wednesday and
Thursday.
Thursday, and then
yeah.
Saturday we have the final of the Vijay Hazare. It's going to be really interesting, big names there. So yeah, we'll be giving you updates on that as
So
well.
Saturday, I believe next Saturday is when the final of the Vijay Hazare Trophy is. But yeah, we just to digress a bit.
Any reason why you're specifically talking about the Vijay Hazare?
I do like the fact that your favorite player has done very well in that in Vijay
No,
Hazare.
no. Apart from that, does it have to do anything with the squad as well? That's to be announced.
I think so. I would like to believe so. I think the delay, if you were to ask me to come up with
So you're
a
saying they're
theory.
waiting for to see who is performing in
Yeah,
the
I
Vijay
think
Hazare.
the one reason I think I don't see any other reason for you to see because the selection committee met today. There've been meetings happening all the way since Thursday. Thursday is when I think Ajit Agarkar was the first time after he came from Australia. He met with his co-selectors and gave them a brief. And then that meeting took place today, as we all know. Jaisha was there. Jaisha, I think, was also spotted leaving as well from the BCCI headquarters. And yeah, you one would like to believe that a lot happened today at the BCCI headquarters because it's the one review meeting where, as sources say, Gautam Gambhir was there, Rohit Sharma was also there as well. There was a round of meeting, I'm been told, that happened yesterday as well, and the big names also came up in that meeting. Anything else, Gulati, that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know as far as that meeting is concerned?
I think we have obviously, I've done an exclusive, video on the details that have been shared to us, as far as that BCCI review meeting is concerned. And one striking point that has obviously, come out from that meeting, and obviously you can check the video for the remaining points, is that the source within the BCCI has said that they aren't really willing to let go of both Virat and Rohit from Test cricket just yet. So which means that you might just see both of them playing the England series, the away England series that's going to begin in June 2025 and maybe beyond also for that matter. Overall, this like there are two different things. It was the BCCI review meeting that took place in Mumbai yesterday, Saturday night, and today it was the BCCI AGM wherein they disclosed a few points regarding the new secretary who is Devajit Saikia. He is now going to replace Jay Shah as the new BCCI secretary. There's going to be a new treasurer also in Praptej Bhatia. And overall, the venues for the WPL have been announced. The IPL is going to begin on 21st of March. Earlier, it was reported, there was a report doing the rounds that the IPL would begin from 14th of March. But then it's going to be about a 10 or an 11-day gap before when the CT finishes and when the IPL begins.
I'm guessing Sashwat's extremely excited. The countdown must have begun for you. Now IPL date is finally
I
out and all.
because the date is finally out. No, no, I'm more excited for the Champions Trophy first because there's already so much going on around it. The squad, you still don't know. Again, I don't think Vijay Hazare Trophy results anyways are going to the
I
selectors
actually,
are going to
let
do.
me cut you short over there. When you say you're more excited about the Champions Trophy, let me tell everyone what happened yesterday. Even though I wasn't at work, I get a call from Sashwat at around 11:30 at night, and I was occupied somewhere, so I didn't take his call. And it was much later that I realized what his message was. He said, we've got our new captain as far as the Delhi Capitals are concerned. Did you tell everyone here as well at the dugout yesterday?
No, no. at the dugout by that time, he wasn't announced
Yeah.
the vice captain. Otherwise, I would have definitely have. But yeah, I think now it's good signs for Delhi that KL Rahul is not going to be the captain. It is going to be AXAR
What
Patel,
if,
most
see,
likely.
the thing is, while Raksar was retained, the and when he gets handed the vice captaincy for India, that obviously is a big boost to.
It means nothing. As simple as that.
It's interesting Gulati says that because India has not been able to find a permanent vice captain for quite some time now. But you talk about, one's CV looking brighter. I think it does make your CV look a little brighter in
it
comparison.
definitely does.
However, while that's a big boost for Akshar Patel as a cricketer, as far as Delhi Capitals are concerned, I think they would have gone into the auction thinking of something, and that's why they went for KL Rahul. So to just
Or maybe
declare
AXAR
it at the
Patel is
moment,
just the
just declare-
deputy vice captain, maybe because if Shubman Gill is to be
Deputy
back,
vice captain.
yeah, because if Shubman Gill is to return to the T20I squad, I believe he's going to be
But why
your
is it-
long-term vice captain.
But I think we're going in with a big, leap of faith over there that Shubman Gill will definitely return.
No, but that's
He
exactly,
should,
yeah.
He should. But it is a big blow to Shubman Gill that he's missed the cut, because clearly there are a few others who are ahead of him now. And the
Has he
pictures-
missed the cut, or like Gulati sir mentioned yesterday, what he believes is that maybe he's been rested in that sense because he has to play the Champions Trophy that's coming ahead. It's the same case for Rishabh Pant too.
I think obviously there are many layers to this discussion, but one of the things that I feel is that, and maybe we can start the discussion from that perspective only. See, it was a long tour down under. I can understand that Shubman Gill played only 3 matches, but to be in an away country for a period of round about 1.5 to 2 months or so, it's never really easy. It can take a toll on you mentally, even as a player also, even if you don't play all the matches. Best example being Sarfaraz Khan. He was with the squad but did not get to play a game. Dhruv Jurel played just a single game. So it can definitely tire you out mentally, and it can happen to the best of the best also, in not just in Indian cricket circuit, but across the globe. So my reading definitely of the situation is that you have given a rest to both Pant and Shubman Gill for that matter, because I think in case of Pant, maybe, just maybe, it could be a case of quote unquote dropped from the T20I squad. But then in case of Gill, I think he has been a regular feature for you across formats. The Champions Trophy is going to be an important tournament for you, and shortly after the Champions Trophy, it's going to be the IPL. No Indian cricketer misses it. And shortly after the IPL also, you are going to tour England for a 5-match test series. There's going to be no third consecutive WTC final for you. So there isn't going to be any period of rest for any of the top Indian cricketers from February 19th until July 31st. So maybe this was the only time wherein the BCCI could squeeze out some rest for Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant, both of who are actually expected to feature for India in most of the matches that they play from February.
So you're trying to say that maybe what you're trying to say, does this imply that there will be no Sanju Samson in the ODI side? Because if Rishabh Pant is rested because he's to play the long ODI series, then will Rishabh Pant's inclusion there would clearly mean an exclusion of Sanju Samson?
Personally, I would want to see Sanju Samson as my backup wicketkeeper for the Champions Trophy.
According to what you're seeing here, you don't see him.
Absolutely. I think in Rishabh Pant, one of the things that I think we have discussed in the dugout also, and I think it's Nikhil has also, I think, put it in a very right way, that it's one of the most overused terms in cricket, X factor. And this is something that we still associate, Rishabh Pant with, even in white ball formats, despite him having a less than an average, record in both the white ball formats. So that's where I feel that personally, I would want to see Sanju Samson be a regular part of India's ODI team also going ahead. But then the way things are really going, I'm not really sure whether we would see, Sanju Samson in the ODI team, because I think management has probably zeroed in on the fact that they would want to have a certain Rishabh Pant and a KL Rahul as the keeper batters in the ODI setup. So my definite, reading of the situation is that both have been rested as of now, both Pant and Gill.
No, but
why
go back to a press conference that the head coach gave, that according to him, batters don't need rest at all. Bowlers he can understand, but what he said was that batters who play, even if they are playing all 3 formats, according to him, they do not need rest. And where does that theory now go?
I sort of agree. And you know, I'd just like to take it a little further. It's not like, you know, this team doesn't have players who were on the tour to Australia. Let's look at some of the names. There was Harshit Rana, who spent an equal amount of time in Australia, played 1 match lesser than Shubman Gill. Shubman played 3, he played 2, as we know.
Yeah.
There was also Dhruv Jurel, who played just the 1 match. So even more frustrating in that way is for Dhruv Jurel to also be on the tour. Then there was NITISH Reddy, who played all the matches. So if you were looking at resting, maybe either it's a case of different strokes for different folks, or this is not a scenario wherein a couple of players have been rested, because Nitish and Rana played all your matches, gave you runs as well, bowled a few overs too, but he has been selected, but not Shubman. And it is not the first time. Why I'm tempted to think that Shubman may have actually been dropped is because it firstly didn't happen too long back, and secondly it has happened to Shubman Gill in the past, that he has been shown the door in the game's shortest format. When you had to accommodate Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, the one to sit out or was made to sit out was Shubman Gill. So if the same thing is coming back at Shubman Gill again, I will not be surprised, because look at some of the names who have managed to now move ahead of a Shubman Gill. There is Sanju Samson in one way, I could say, because you talk about him as a top order batter as he was in the previous series as well. There is Abhishek Sharma as well, even though he is disappointed at times, Abhishek Sharma, but the vote of confidence, he seems to have gotten that from the selectors. So Abhishek Sharma has made the cut. Sanju Samson is also there in this side, and then there are those as well who were with him in Australia. In fact,
I think what Gulati sir is also trying to say here is that the people who have been to Australia and will now play the Champions Trophy as well, they have been rested. See, Yashasvi Jaiswal, a Shubman Gill, and a Rishabh Pant. These are the 3 people who've been there for the Australian squad, Australian tour, and now most likely, according to him, what Gulati sir says is that they have been rested because they will be playing the Champions Trophy and the ODI series.
The other thing coinciding is also
because Harshit Rana and Nitish Reddy
of Shubman Gill in ODIs as well.
No, in the squad at least you are. Squad, I think, yeah.
Squad you are.
I think I'm
No,
not
so
really-
even for Rishabh Pant, you're not sure.
Pant, yeah, exactly. You're not.
But
sure.
that's what we are discussing,
Second
right?
thing is, look, the other thing that comes to my mind when I talk about both those names is that both had similar BGTs, which is disappointing. So half the selectors in a way had had those BGT numbers right in front of them when they were selecting as well, or that notion around the 2 batters was also coming from a place where these 2 didn't really perform and live up to the expectation in test. Again, different formats, but it all happened very recently for one to overlook that maybe.
Yeah. I think maybe, there is one of the things that has happened with either of Shubman Gill or Rishabh Pant, or maybe I think in case of both also. And maybe, this is slightly an unorthodox idea, or maybe an orthodox way of looking at things. But I initially expected Yashasvi Jaiswal to be a part of this T20I squad. And the reasoning behind that was that you don't really see Yashasvi Jaiswal making the cut for the Champions Trophy, because any which ways your top order is fixed.
I would say I'm applying the same logic over here. As you said that maybe those 2 aren't included here because you want them to play in the ODI series, right?
Yeah.
Are you expecting Yashasvi to play in the ODIs, which is why he's not been named here as well? Just extending the same logic.
If not playing there, definitely I see him in the squad.
And if there was anyone who deserves rest right now amongst all the batters after the kind of BGT that you've had, it is Yashasvi Jaiswal. So maybe he truly has been rested.
I'll tell you.
You can't really say that Yashasvi has been dropped, can you?
No. That's why I'm saying I see now. Now I see Rishabh Pant, Yashasvi Jaiswal, and Shubman Gill, all 3 of them part of the Champions Trophy side. I can name a few more players who would be part of the Champions Trophy side, but those players weren't part of the Australian Test series. For say a Hardik Pandya an Akshar Patel maybe, an Arshdeep Singh to an extent, Mohammad Shami maybe, even a Varun Chakravarti, Washington Sundar. These are the names who can feature in India's ODI squad as well. But these aren't the names who were part of the ODI side, of the test side that was touring in Australia. Just the three players who were touring in Australia got to play a lot of cricket there, now have been rested for the 5 matches T20 series so that they can be fresh for the Champions Trophy. If they play or not, that's a separate thing. But I think they should now, I think these are signs that they would be named in the 15 that India announced for the Champions Trophy.
Okay, I think let's just maybe take a look at one scenario, and you can obviously chip in with your thoughts. I'll just begin with it. So in case of Shubman Gill, I think it's probably fair to not mix formats. His form in overseas tests hasn't really been encouraging. He has been good in home test matches. There's a reason why he has been called second innings Gill, in the home test matches. He's done well in the ODIs, has been India's top run scorer, one of the top run scorers in the last couple of years or so in the ODI format. Was even good in T20Is also until that Sri Lanka series, but then there's a lot of cricket going on, and that's why he could not play the Bangladesh T20s and the South Africa series. So maybe, I think in case of Gill, it doesn't make sense to mix formats, and he looks like a sure shot starter for not just the England ODIs but the Champions Trophy. But I think, like, this is just my way of seeing things, and then we can get to both Harshit and Shashwat. I have a feeling that Rishabh Pant has been handed a reality check. Maybe I think he has been told by the selectors categorically that, listen boss, it's very clear that your T20 form, even in the T20 World Cup or the Sri Lanka series that you played, it was underwhelming by your standards. You are more of a player who we regard as an X factor, who is expected to make that difference. You have not done that. In ODIs, we already have a stacked 11. KL Rahul has done nothing wrong to be left out of the playing 11. Sanju Samson is climbing up the ladder like anything. So maybe you don't really fit into the scheme of things as far as the T20Is and the ODIs are concerned. So maybe I think in case of Gill, it's just a rest that
But
he has been provided.
my point being, why not Gill? See, he's gone through a similar spiral earlier as well. The returns with the bat were diminishing for Shubman Gill in the lead up to that Afghanistan series, which is why it wasn't really a shocker if you had to really make a decision. Whenever you talk about Shubman Gill making a comeback, you cite IPL numbers, right? And come what may, he does tend to have a decent IPL. Last year as well, yes, there was the burden of captaincy and this and that, but even then I think he managed okay, if memory serves me right. But as far as T20 cricket is concerned, I think the opportunity came again for Shubman Gill once Rohit Sharma announced his retirement. That is one thing you can't deny. But the other thing that was happening in the sidelines is that yes, there was an Abhishek Sharma who was continuing to play all these, B teams, so to say. He was always the one to be playing in Ireland. He was always the one to be playing in Zimbabwe, and he got a century over there as well. So, yes, he disappointed in the previous series, but I think what has happened is, and also because of the kind of cricket that you want to play now, I think somebody like an Abhishek Sharma just ends up edging a Shubman Gill over there because he fits into the philosophy, which is going all guns blazing from the word go. Shubman, we know, takes his time at times to get set. Same, by the way, is the criticism for Rishabh Pant as well. While he can totally turn things around if he manages those first 10-15 balls, and that's where his X factor sort of comes into play. But when you talk about Sanju versus Rishabh Pant, where we all sort of gave Sanju Samson a little bit of an edge, was also when Sanju Samson can kick on from the word go. That is also one thing that you've always said in favor of Sanju Samson. So I quite feel that it's that Shubman Gill may just find himself on the wrong side right now. By wrong side I mean that
And what about Rishabh Pant?
in a dark place when it comes to T20 cricket, and I fear the same for Rishabh Pant as well.
Okay.
We did the number crunching the other day. He wasn't really setting things on fire with the numbers, which is why that's why my fear for Rishabh Pant also is it the right call or not? I don't know that right now, but it doesn't look like totally. It doesn't look like a blunder. I can say that with a sense of surety because Rishabh Pant's been more has been more about what he can bring to the table. He's been more about potential than performances, and yeah, it's in a way unfortunate that somebody who's been seen and is still continued to be seen as such a game changer. No wonder he broke the bank as far as the record is concerned in the IPL auction as well. But somewhere the expectation is not being met, and I think for that reason, perhaps both him and it's very similar. Where the two of them find themselves. Lot of potential, lot of hype around them, lot of build up around them, lot of expectation, but both aren't really meeting those high standards.
I don't think so. That's the case. I don't think that Rishabh Pant or Shubman Gill, for that matter, have been told that you are not part of the scheme of things in T20I cricket. I think it's very clear cut that it is clearly rest, because that's exactly what they would have told in a Yashasvi Jaiswal as well. T20 cricket would not be being given so much importance as it at this point, because it is not the T20 World Cup year. That's going to be next year. If the team is to be made today, of the World Cup, I don't see a Rishabh Pant or a Shubman Gill or a Yashasvi Jaiswal not be part of it. No matter what the situation is, you might let go of some other players. Sanju Samson, I know that last five matches, 3 centuries he's got. He's in tremendous form. But we have to realize that the T20 World Cup year is next year. How does he carry forward this form till next year? Same for Abhishek Sharma as well. How well they play till next year, how consistently they are doing well till next year. I think that is going to play a very big role. And also the next 2 IPLs that are up for that will take place before the T20I World Cup. If Rishabh Pant and Shubman Gill continue to have the kind of IPLs they have been having, and Sanju Samson and Abhishek Sharma sort of fade away a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Rishabh Pant and Shubman Gill both going for that, being part of the T20 World Cup team, because this is an ODI ICC trophy year. That's why you're not seeing these players play in T20 cricket. That's exactly what we saw with Rohit and Virat as well. They also weren't part of the T20I side when it wasn't the year of the T20, because the form is not there.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying that's
Gill
when
has not been backed with.
But the problem is, that's why I said that, because there is too much recency bias whenever we pick teams for any ICC tournament. Right now, Sanju Samson is ahead in our heads because because of the recent performances that he has had. But things will change drastically. They might change drastically by the time it's time to pick the team for the World Cup. What is the situation at that point? If these 2 people, that's why I said Sanju Samson, Abhishek Sharma, haven't pushed a Rishabh Pant and a Shubman Gill absolutely out of the scheme of things, then only will they be part of, when they will be part of the 11 that starts in the T20 World Cup. Otherwise, I don't see any other reason for Rishabh Pant and Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal isn't even a debating point at this point. That's why I'm saying the 2 IPLs and what the form is when we get closer to the World Cup, that will be a very big sort of reason for what happens. Right now, I think it's very clear that they have been rested. They were part of a very month and a half long test series. Now they will be part of the team in the upcoming ODI series and also the Champions Trophy.
So Nitish Rana, Nitish Reddy, beg your pardon, Harshat Rana, they're there in this side because they're not going to be part of the ODI scheme of things. Is that what explains their inclusion?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not really sure about Harshit Rana. Any which ways, I feel that assuming Bumrah is fit, I think you're any which way is going to go with Bumrah, Arshdeep, Shami are going to be your show shot pacers. There's going to be Hardik Pandya.
How many of us, by the way, had Nitish Reddy in the ODI squad?
I didn't have.
I
had
Nikhil sir had.
Yeah. So I think India's pace attack pretty much looks sorted unless there are a couple of injuries at the last minute. I don't see Harshit Rana making the 15 for Champions Trophy, but I cannot say. I think, but something different can be said about Nitish Reddy. I have a feeling that he could just make the 15 for Champions Trophy, but he might not feature in the 11 because 2 things are for sure.
Remember, there is Nitish Reddy. There's a lot that's changed for him.
Absolutely.
Because Hardik Pandya you've been trying to look for a successor for quite some time now. I remember Nitish didn't make my cut as well, but going by that logic, maybe he's not even in contention, as you suggested. That those who are in contention for Champions Trophy will be saved for the ODI series, and now that he's playing the T20 series, then that just the same logic. Then he's not in the scheme of things. Then
More players from this side will be part of the ODI scheme as well, but then they weren't part of the Test series.
then
They weren't part of the Test series. Then they straight away playing the
look at Washington Sundar.
Washington Sundar.
we
Yeah,
said-
I don't see
we
him
said
making the
Washington Sundar.
cut.
Most of us said Washington Sundar
Yeah.
will be there. He played in the
But-
Bodagavaskar Trophy.
Yeah.
He's going to be. So some players again. So it's different strokes for different folks.
No,
right?
maybe then a Washington
Because there's an
Sundar.
all-rounder in Washi over there.
Yeah.
There's an all-rounder in Nitish Reddy over there.
Maybe
Nitish
both of
Reddy-
them aren't making the cut then.
For the
yeah,
Champions Trophy
but that will
squad.
be very surprising. According to me, one of them, I think both of them would be fighting for the same slot, fighting for the the backup all rounder in that sense. Maybe you'd want a Washington Sundar, but then that would be an odd case. But Washington Sundar in this T20 side too, I feel that he's come in because the Riyan Parag is injured. Because you might need a batter who can bowl a little lower down the order in T20 cricket, and Sundar is a bowler who can bat.
So I think let me just get back to I think 2021, if I'm not wrong. That was the time. Rishabh Pant, I think it was during the 2020 lockdown time, obviously. After the IPL had finished in the UAE, Rishabh Pant wasn't a part of India's squad for the Australia ODIs. So he was basically dropped because of the reported weight issues and his fitness thing. Even in the opening test also, the infamous Adelaide test when India were bowled out for 36, Riddhiman Saha played ahead of him. And later when he played from the second test, won you the Border Gavaskar trophy with those exploits, Ravi Shastri, the then coach, had made it clear that there was a chat that we had with him that we expect some things out of you. And he worked on them and he got back. Pant has been dropped once. Would the selectors really shy away from dropping him for one more time?
Exactly my theory for Shubman Gill as well. Exactly my theory. Because not like with the numbers, he's really set the stage on fire.
Yeah.
But he's also been dropped in the past.
But do you really think that this conversation is also going on about the T20I side? Because I don't think so. I don't feel that's the priority discussion that would be having. If there would be any discussion going on with the two of them, also it would be regarding the Champions Trophy itself. I think it's very clear that
I think somewhere I look at it this way, because it's happened for the second time now in about 15-month period, that I think in all of this maybe there's a message that's been sent to the both of them as well. That and a similar situation could have been that you could have had them in the squad if you wanted to rest them a little more, as was the case in the previous series. Rishabh Pant that played I think only the third match, which is scored 6 runs as we were talking.
Yeah, the ODI series.
Exactly,
Sri
you could
Lanka.
have rested and played just one match, but maybe there was, if you wanted to give that prolonged rest, is what I'm saying. Then I think what has actually happened, I'm not saying completely the two names have been shelved from Indian cricket, but I think there's a message definitely that's being sent out as well, that there's a certain brand of cricket we want to be played, and yeah, right now those standards aren't really being met. So maybe in giving the pretext, or on the pretext of the ODI series coming up and the Champions Trophy, maybe they've been told something else. But at the same time, in the same breath, maybe a message would also have been given that, listen guys, you guys are on notice of sorts.
No, but what sort of notice? As soon as the IPL comes, they have a great season in the IPL. You get into the World Cup year, and Sanju Samson and Sanju Samson, if we are talking about specifically about Rishabh Pant, Sanju Samson isn't sort of breaking the door down and he's not scoring too many runs, then I think it's going to be very clear for the selector. It is going to be Rishabh Pant. It is always nearer to the World Cup. Whoever is doing well, that person makes the cut because of the recency bias. That's why I'm not reading too much into the T20I squad at this point, because you're still a year and a half away from the T20 World Cup. I think 2 IPLs before that will absolutely change everything, whatever is going on in the team. Maybe see, at this point I can only tell you 2 players with a certainty who will definitely be part of the 26 T20 World Cup. A Hardik Pandya and a Surya Kumar Yadav.
You are not sure about Arshdeep?
even see again if you have to be 100% sure if Arshdeep
you can be
no
sure
no
of, yeah.
injury
You cannot be 100% sure about any player.
no
Shashwat.
I'm saying if you have to make the squad today
Okay.
if you have two players if you have to ride for 2026 ODI World for the T20 World Cup, the two people are going to be Hardik Pandya and Surya Kumar Yadav to begin with. Will be the two names. Apart from that, nobody sort of right now merits their place. We are talking about Arshdeep Singh on such high praise at this point. The same case for Mohammad Siraj was there previously also, but things change in 2 years. 2 years is 1.5 years. That's two IPLs. I think that will absolutely change. That could absolutely change the picture.
Okay. But I think in case of Pant, maybe, or even Shubman Gill for that matter, I think the way things are really going within the Indian cricket circuit. Before we, I think, get to that important point, I feel that it is going to be a thing now that you wouldn't really talk much about a player, or maybe you wouldn't give any player a longer rope when they are actually going through a lean phase. I think in case of Shubman Gill, weakness was clearly identified, and that's why he was lifted or maybe dropped from the MCG test, and he could just play 3 matches in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. In case of Pant also, there has been a clear issue that you have figured out that his form in the white ball formats hasn't really been up to the mark, and obviously that's been the case for the last few years or so. Maybe his ODI form before that unfortunate incident happened, his ODI form was slightly on the rise, but then KL Rahul made the most of it, and obviously he is more than likely is going to be India's #1 option. But I have a feeling that the way things are really going within the BCCI, that players cannot now pick and choose any formats, and you are going to make sure that all bilaterals are going to be mandatory for all the players. And the way you're talking about the poor form also of most of these players, I think they are not really handled any kind of a any, how do we put it, that there isn't going to be a longer rope given to them. Maybe if you feel that this player is not really good for us in any format, you'll probably keep them aside and stick to format specific players. That's how I think things really look to be for India. And as far as I think the Champions Trophy goes, I have a feeling that Shubman Gill will obviously return. I think I've said this at the beginning of this discussion also, that I think, let's just not mix formats. He has been one of India's best ODI batters in the last 2 years. But maybe I think there's a slight conflicting thing within myself also, that maybe a part of me tells me that Rishabh Pant will be a part of this Champions Trophy squad. But then I think he could have probably been told very categorically.
You're sure that Yashasvi won't be?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Yashasvi could be a part of 15, but I don't see him, being a part of the playing 11 for sure. Because see, if you have to play Yashasvi Jaiswal, what do? You go with Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, Jaiswal maybe at 3, or Jaiswal opening the innings, Gill at 3. So you basically push everyone, one spot down.
3 can't happen.
Yeah, 3 can't happen.
3
So
can't happen.
Jaiswal, he either plays as an opener or he does not play. And at the current
You'll
moment,
keep him as a backup opener, won't you?
you can keep him as a backup opener, but then there are obviously reports of having Sanju Samson also, and that's where you're looking at him as a clear backup opener, keeper batter.
In T20 cricket, why do you feel that Rishabh Pant will not come back? In that sense, that Shubman Gill would not have been given this message, but Rishabh Pant would have. I don't understand that reason.
I think in case of Shubman Gill, one of the things that has really worked for him in the T20I format is that his numbers, and obviously the some of the innings that he has played for India is still significantly better than what a certain Rishabh Pant has played. So obviously his numbers are good, his impact has been better than a Rishabh Pant. We cannot really say the same thing about Pant here. So obviously Gill has done what he could have done in the T20I format. But as far as I think Pant is concerned, can't really say the same thing.
No, but to
I
begin with,
think,
Shubman
again,
Gill.
because the situation is just so similar for the two of them, and now there won't be any T20 cricket after this. It's straight away just going to be the IPL now after this particular series. I think as has been the case in the past as well, and now these two will be talked about a little more. I think IPL will again have to go to their own personal liking for them to be seeing themselves ahead of some of these guys that we've talked about today. Because if it's just there and thereabouts, maybe there's a problem there. Because there are plenty of options, especially right up top. Right up top, there's a lot of options that India has. So
And also, I think just to clarify that, you saw Rishabh Pant playing ahead of a Shubman Gill in that sense. Shubman Gill was dropped before Rishabh Pant. So I don't see any reason why will the team management at this point want a Shubman Gill but not a Rishabh Pant. Either, I think the situation is very, very similar for both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in case of obviously Gill, I think I see him as a part of the Champions Trophy squad. But then I think in case of Pant, it does look like that, now that he's not a part of the T20 squad, there could have been some rest that they could have given to him so that, he can be ready for Champions Trophy. But then in case of Pant, it does look like, it's going to be 50-50. But Gill, for sure, he's going to return for the Champions Trophy. I think, yeah, let's just take a few comments. I'll basically address this thing. So we had obviously, talked about Virat Kohli being there in Gold Coast and he was on a vacation or something like that. So obviously it wasn't something that we manufactured. It wasn't something that we thought that, let's just, try and come up with a story. There were reports obviously doing the rounds. That's what my colleague Shashwat had read about. That's what all of us had, obviously read about. And I think mentioning about the reports in any of the dugouts or the live discussions that we have, I'm not really sure if that's a wrong thing, or I think it's something that we have always, I think, obviously discussed, and I think same is probably going to be the case going on also, Shashwat.
Yeah. I think we clarified that was a wrong report that we quoted, and we talked about that the next day as well. So
yeah. Divya Reddy has a comment that how about having foreign players in Ranji? I think in really favor of that, but I think maybe there are two factors to it. Number one, you'll have to look at who are the foreign players that you really want to target in the Ranji Trophy. It's not just going to be maybe for the likes of players who are past their prime and maybe they're not getting any of the good deals in their respective domestic circuits. So let's just see that who are the players you want to target, and specifically if you have to target those young players or the good players from, let's say, Australia, England, South Africa, or any of the overseas countries, you would have to check their availability also. Two reasons. One, the international calendar is absolutely stacked. And secondly, with the coming up of all these T20I leagues, most of the players have obviously become T20 mercenaries. But then you would also have to see how they can, try and take out some time so that they can feature in Ranji Trophy. It's a great idea. It's obviously been mentioned in one of the interviews that's there on Sports Today by Navjot Singh Sidhu, and you can definitely check that out. But I think schedule is one of the biggest factors there. Shashwat, you would want to take the next comment? Dipanjan Chatterjee.
what's the big issue? Current players are better.
This is with respect to?
Yeah, I also couldn't get that.
Is it?
Big issue.
Dipanjan, if you can just offer some clarity for
I
this
think what he's
thing.
trying to say is that the T20 team is better without the players we are debating about.
Okay. I think India are obviously blessed with a lot of players, and it does happen that sometimes not everyone gets that elongated rope. There can be different reasons to why both Gill and Pant have been dropped, but then let's see how things really shape up. As I think Shashwat has really pointed that if you are to pick the T20 World Cup squad today, only two players would be, or three players at max would be a show shot starters: Surya Kumar, Hardik Pandya, and maybe an Arshdeep. Apart from that, all the other players are still fighting for their spot, and maybe to an extent
Jasprit Bumrah as well.
Yeah, Jasprit Bumrah as well, obviously a fully fit Jasprit Bumrah. And in case of I think Abhishek Sharma, maybe I think he's still very lucky to keep his spot in the T20I squad. Abhishek Sharma has a comment. Sid, when you hyped about Pant saying he has underperformed in ODIs, can you tell me when he had performed well in ODIs? He was never a good batter in ODI and has just achieved brilliance. I think we are probably mixing maybe this comment. I'm not really sure, because I have never been a big supporter of Pant in ODI cricket. I was absolutely clear that you need to persist with a certain KL Rahul and Sanju Samson in that ODI circuit. You can probably try Dhruv Jurel also, and Ishan Kishan is also coming back with some kind of form. I think Pant has had those flashes, that 100 against England, the 70-80 odd against West Indies. He's played those useful contributions also for India in the 2019 World Cup. So yeah, Pant has never been that consistent, and I think his he's really been underwhelming in the ODI format. 31 ODIs, an average of less than 34, never really bodes well for you. Sarthak Arya has a comment that I agree with Shashwat. Whenever the T20 World Cup is around, Sanju plays ODIs, and when ODI tournament is around, he is selected in T20Is. But I think that's not just restricted to Sanju.
Yeah, it's clearly not. See, again, that's why I'm telling you, two IPLs. Again, we have seen IPL form being mixed up in ODIs and Test cricket. This is still T20 cricket. So a lot will depend on the IPL. And before the World Cup, there are going to be two IPLs. So it's going to be a lot of cricket before the final call is taken on that team.
Okay. This next comment, I hate Dahi Bhalla, that Shashwat keeps mentioning about KL Rahul's performance in 2023 World Cup final. Not sure whether that date exists or not, but never mentioned Pant's performance in West Indies leg of the 2024 T20 World Cup. On what basis Pant deserves a place in T20?
When
squad?
did I say that Pant deserves a place? Did I say?
I don't think so.
Did
I can't remember.
Right now, did I say even once
No,
that
I
Pant
don't
deserves a
think so.
place in the T20 team? I've said it. See, Rishabh Pant isn't my, a friend, or he's not my relative that I would want
No one is our friend.
him to.
No one.
Yeah, nobody is for that matter. But because you're talking about that, because Rishabh Pant I have nothing to do with him personally. It's just that what I like, you would have your favorite players. He's not like a favorite player, but because I see some X factor in him, that's why I would want him. But I never said that he should be part of the T20I team. I even said that, I remember this in a couple of days back in the dugout, like for KL Rahul, I say that till a point can you be backed on the basis of your potential. It's not all. You cannot play 100 tests on the basis just on your potential. After a point, you have to even perform. You're not a young player anymore. I said the same thing for Rishabh Pant as well, that on the basis of his potential, he cannot keep making the cut for the T20I side. Because Sanju Samson has now performed again and again, he's broken the door down. Sanju Samson automatically merits a place, because not for so long can you play in the team just on the basis of the potential, because you're no more a youngster, you are a senior player of that team. So yeah, I don't think the yardstick is very different for players, for me personally, but maybe you listen to just one part of the conversation.
Maybe it's selective listening. Shivam, can we just scroll up? I think there's one more comment above this that we... Yeah. Danush has a comment that Gill and Pant don't deserve a place in T20I team. Their performance in T20Is has been pretty ordinary. Shreyas got dropped from the T20I team despite scoring 50 in his last T20I. I think in case of Pant, maybe we have discussed all these points that his numbers aren't that encouraging, hasn't really played those X factor knocks, quote unquote. I think Gill maybe has been slightly unlucky, because remember, there was a time until the Sri Lanka T20Is that he was at least getting those runs. So he hasn't really been ordinary. In case of Shreyas Iyer, I think he just went through a phase wherein a lot of players just came and they basically stamped their authority and had their places pretty much fixed in the T20I team as of now. Because when he was left out, had a back issue, even had a slight issue with the selectors also, that he wasn't really able to play more than 30 odd balls, I think, in red ball cricket in an innings. I think that was the time that basically hurt Shreyas Iyer's T20I chances a lot. And now maybe he'll have to get those hundreds or maybe 70 or 80 out of 35 balls to probably have a chance of making his way back into the T20I team. Shivam, can you scroll down? Yeah, Abhishek Sharma. ODI average of 33, T20 23. I think it's probably Pant maybe. Don't just fail us by continuing the superstar culture. He does not even deserve to be in both squads. I think that's pretty much the case with Pant. Shubham Garg has a comment that Pant scored 55 runs in Super 8 semis finals in 5 games. On what basis he deserves to be dropped? We have better number 3 players in T20 in our country.
Yeah, right. Till the time he doesn't perform again and come back, then I think, yeah. But we also have to keep in mind that a lot of selections in the T20 team are not on the basis of their T20I numbers. A lot of it also depends on the T20 numbers in general. That includes the IPL as well. So you have to keep in mind that Rishabh Pant averages close to 39 or 40, if I'm not wrong, in IPL and has a strike rate of 150 plus or one near about 150. I can be a little wrong with the numbers, but yeah, so those numbers are also taken in consideration for the T20 selection. So we sort of, that's why I say that numbers at times do sort of show us a very different picture of what they actually are.
Okay, Sarthak Arya has an interesting comment that in his opinion, it's a blessing in disguise for Rishabh Pant. He now needs a bang-on IPL season for Lucknow Super Giants and answer his critics. Obviously, please check out what Ash has said about RP. I think Sarthak Arya, what he's referring to is the kind of defense that, solid defense that a Rishabh Pant has. He has a very strong defense, or maybe the best defense that there is for any batter in the Indian team. So let's just see. I think in case of Pant, how things can really happen. He has been dropped once. We have mentioned this thing in the discussion during that it happened during the 2020 tour of Australia. And if he is shown the door as of now ahead of the Champions Trophy in the white ball formats, the only thing, as Sarthak Arya points out, he just needs is a strong IPL, and he would force his way back into the in the white ball formats.
So
I think maybe just last two comments we can take. Frickin' Awesome has a comment that toss plays a crucial role in Dubai. Only 4 times 300s have been scored there. We can expect a good contest between bat and ball. Anything over 250 is not easy to chase. I think the only thing that I can hope for is, let's just not have pitches like the way they were in the 2021 T20 World Cup. You wouldn't really want that kind of a contest that a team is batting first. There's a lot of purchase for the bowlers, and then in the second innings there is nothing in it for the bowling attack. So I think the only thing that we can hope for is a proper cricketing contest, and that's what obviously we have seen in Dubai overall. Last comment from Priyanshu that BCCI is waiting for Kuldeep and Bumrah's fitness. Don't think both Gill and Pant would find a place in India's best T20 11. Whom do you guys see as the new ODI captain after CT?
After CT, are we looking for a new captain after CT itself?
What's your prediction?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be very interesting. Who will it be? Shreyas Iyer, like Shivambia points out. But again, is his place in? Would you want to make a captain who's not playing all formats? I don't know, but Shreyas Iyer could be a good shout. There could be Rishabh Pant as well, depending upon what kind of form does he show if he gets to play. Or maybe Hardik Pandya, who was unlucky to miss out on captaincy in T20Is, could be an option for ODIs. But we'll have to wait and see. How the Champions Trophy ends for India is going to determine a lot of things.
Absolutely. I think if India win, then you might just see Rohit continuing. But then if India lose and you would want to have a shake-up, I think I'll probably go with a unorthodox choice here. I have a feeling that Yashasvi Jaiswal could be your next ODI captain. It could happen.
Too soon.
Maybe.
He hasn't made his ODI debut yet.
But neither did Graham Smith when he was appointed as the South Africa's ODI
That's
captain. Or all
but we don't function like that, no?
Yeah, true. No, it's not like that. I think it's the clear things that we have pointed about Pant, and there's nothing, wrong about it, to be honest. So I think, that's about it. Anything else? So thank you for joining us for yet another edition of Dugout. Do subscribe to Sports Today for all the exciting updates and analysis from the sporting world. Tap that bell icon so that when we go live, you know all the latest updates that we bring for you from the cricketing world. Until then, on behalf of my colleagues Harshit and Shashwat and our humble producer Shivam, it's Siddharth Gulati saying good night, goodbye, Nandri, Vadakam.
Shubhratri, eat your vegetables and don't trouble your mother.